All right, welcome in Friday morning. Total bases. We've made it to the end of the week. Myself, Tokyo Brandon, one more time with just the two of us. We will have Bryan Leonard back with us on Monday. As always, your one-stop shop for Major League Baseball free picks on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. And it's Friday night in Tokyo, so crack that fireball out. We've got 15 games to talk through. Well, there's a 15-game slate today. We'll see how many we get them to. Roger Long, where's the coffee? I'm like on a Diet Coke this morning. I already had a coffee and didn't realize.
You know what I'm on.
Hey, like I said, Friday night in Tokyo, you well deserved fireball swing for you.
That was a tough week for me too. Tough week for
me.
But let me do a quick shout out. You guys, we need your support. Do us a huge favor and hit the like button. And leave some comments and leave a comment on the replay because WagerTalk reads them all. And for some reason, they think our show's not popular. So let's bring it up and show them that our show's popular. How about that? Okay, I'm done. I went on a rant 2 days ago, and now today I'm gonna beg for likes.
Listen, I'll take the likes and subscribe. If we can continue to run it up with likes and subscribes on this show, I'll give as much out as I can for free. We'll try to repay in that manner. But the likes, honestly, like for me, the likes and subscribes are more like I'd rather have this show do extremely well. I'm more worried about that than I am about like sales. So I'd rather spend the time asking for the likes and the subscribes here. And yeah, like I said, we're just trying to find winners. It's been kind of an up and down week for me as well. You know, I went 2-2 yesterday, lost the MLB play. Day before was 3-1. So we're just kind of battling it out. I feel like we gave out some good info on the show yesterday, TB. So yeah, that's the goal again today. Sorry, I'll go back to you. What were you going to say?
No. Just KBO. I had LG today. I thought the price was good. They're leading the whole game 1-0, and then they lose in the 10th inning to of all teams Kiwoom. And then in Japanese baseball, I had SoftBank. They were winning 2-0 in the 9th inning, give up a 2-run home run to tie it, and then they lose an extra inning. So that's kind of how my day has been today. So that's when you need one of these. Small plays though. It doesn't kill my record or anything. It's like 2%. But
well, all we can do is regroup and try to find some winners here.
Yep.
And no action in KBO for me this morning. So we'll get right into it. I assume we have to start with the rivalry of all rivalries here. At least it used to be. I think it still is. Do you think Red Sox Yankees is still the biggest rivalry in Major League Baseball?
In Major League Baseball, without a doubt.
Without a doubt. Okay.
Biggest. Yeah, without a doubt. It could be the biggest rivalry in all of sports. Possibly. I mean, think about it. Does NFL have a rivalry as big as Yankees Boston? I don't think so. Like, what would it be? Like Lions Bears? What would it be?
Right. I'm curious what the chat has to say about that. Is Yankees Red Sox still the biggest rivalry in sports? Is it still the biggest rivalry in baseball? For me, it felt like it used to be bigger. I don't know. I still feel like it's a big deal. I don't know if it's the biggest. I'm curious to see what the people have to say in the chat. But it is still a very big game, and it is a very big sort of time for the Red Sox, in my opinion. I feel like this team over the next 3 weeks is at a little bit of a crossroads. They're 4 games under 500. I got a nice walk-off winner with them on Wednesday for a 4% play. That was their most recent game. But now they head to the Bronx, and they're 30-34, which means if they don't at least take one this weekend, Tokyo Brandon, and they get swept, then they're going to get to like approach mid-June, 7 games under 500. So I think it goes without saying this is a very important weekend for the Red Sox to at least leave with something. Do they leave with a winner in the opener tonight is the question.
This is a tough one because both of these pitchers, to avoid a double negative, neither of these pitchers is really trustworthy. I've never been a fan of Walker Buehler. Even when he was good with the Dodgers, I didn't like him back then. And Will Warren is weird because in one of my rankings, my numbers have him, you can run like auto number rankings and just see where things lay out, but you always have to put a human touch on it and say, hey, wait, that guy shouldn't be in there, etc. And Warren ranks high in some of my numbers, but then other numbers he ranks low, and he's been very inconsistent. Boston's bullpen is performing better. Boston's lineup is performing better at the moment, but no one can say that Boston's lineup is better than New York's. We got 2 unreliable starting pitchers and 1 unreliable bullpen. So I think the only way I would go here would be an over, but I haven't played it. I doubt that I'm going to play it. This will be a good entertainment game, but I don't think it's a game that I'm willing to make money on.
The way I would only play this is probably Red Sox plus 1.5, but I needed to come into range a little bit more. Before I got on the show, and I'm just kind of scrolling through odds here, and I'm assuming it's still the same because that was only about 20 minutes ago. It was plus 1.5 was minus 140. I think I need that to come down about 10 cents to want to get involved here. I think if it did, and that's very possible, right, Tokyo Brandon, because the Yankees will take money. I mean, you'll see the Yankees over the course of the day. Their odds typically at, if you want to bet the Yankees, you typically got to do it overnight or early in the day. I feel like
yes,
the numbers move in their direction oftentimes. So who knows? Maybe you do get a favorable plus 1.5 for the Red Sox here. My first thought is, so let's back up, right? Will Warren coming into the season, I talked about as a guy that I didn't quite know if he was ready to be a starting pitcher for the Yankees, like in the rotation. Obviously, things would be different if Cole and Luis Gil and some of those guys weren't hurt. But there's been flashes of Will Warren sort of proving he belongs. And then there's been flashes of the opposite. And I would say that's what we saw last time out. Couldn't get out of the second inning, 7 runs on 6 hits, got blown up by the Dodgers. Now, prior to that, pretty solid run of starts. I think I've warmed up to the thought of Warren being a pretty legitimate big league pitcher, but I still don't know that I have him minus 180 against a pretty desperate Red Sox team. Walker Buehler, TV, was his last start the one he got kicked out of?
I believe so. Early. I think he only went 2 innings or less than that, right? Let me make sure. Let me get his game log here. No. Actually, he went
wow.
He went 5 2/3 in his last start against Atlanta. Then he went 5 before that against Baltimore. The one he left was the one before that against the Mets.
That's how you know the days are. That's how you know the days are just flying by. TB. Yeah. That was 3 starts ago, and it felt like it was like yesterday. I'm of course referencing the start against the Mets where Walker Buehler argued a pitch that was literally down the middle and got thrown out because these umps can't take any criticism, TB.
It's 2
starts. You criticize an ump for a bad call, even if it's a blatantly terrible call, you're kicked out of the game. Since then, 5 innings, 2 runs on 4 hits against the Red Sox, against the Orioles, and then got knocked around a little bit last time out against the Braves.
Yep.
One thing you said that I'll play off of here. I really like this Red Sox bullpen. If you go back to Wednesday, the damage was done by Lucas Giolito, who just got bombed in the first 2 innings of that game. The bullpen after that, 2 runs, I think the rest of the game, right? It was 7. I believe Giolito gave up 7 runs. It was 7-5. And then it was an 11-9 final. So the Red Sox bullpen's coming around. The Yankees bullpen has been pretty solid this year. My gut tells me this is a big, big spot for the Red Sox. You're going to get a big effort from them off the off day, but I really want that 1.5 with the road team, and I want it at a more playable price. So for me, it's got to be Red Sox plus 1.5. But if that gets to under minus 130, you might see me get involved there. I just think these teams are closer than the odds makers are suggesting here.
Sure. Yeah. Here, I hear you.
Yeah, all right, let's continue on. If you had anything else to add there, obviously go ahead. If not, we'll get to the next game. I'm just going to go in. Let's go to G-Hurt. The Patrick Corbin Washington return game discussion. That is, of course, the Nationals, who no-showed on me last night, TB. Was very disappointed. I got the setup I wanted. We had Colin Rhea in the game for like 5 innings. Right, left-handed hitters.
Look at this comment, Adam.
Yeah, right. Cy Young Corbin.
My Cy Young prediction, right? Sorry to interrupt. We're having fun
that's
tonight.
Okay.
I'm on Fireball right now, so yeah, we're gonna have some fun.
Love that.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, so I was just gonna set it up by saying, like, the Nats really no-showed last night. I had the matchup I wanted. Nationals against a right-handed pitcher that I felt like that they could take advantage of. Of course, Colin Rhea, OPS against left-handed hitters coming into yesterday was close to 900. And what does he do? Goes out and fires a gem. It was just a lackluster effort the whole time from the Nats. They get blown out. Now they hit the road, and Patrick Corbin, he's had a good season. But what I'll point to is what I've been saying all week. This Nationals lineup is worse against left-handed pitching. Do you think Patrick Corbin's live here in this spot tonight in his old home ballpark?
The thing is, Corbin is outperforming his expectations, but it doesn't mean that he's pitching well. Sorry, Adam. I know he's your guy and he's from your local area and all that. He's not that great of a pitcher, but he's actually having he's having a respectable season. Let's put it that way. He has not barfed on the mound. Maybe the pitching coaching is good over there. I don't know what's going on, but he's definitely outperforming any expectations, because last year he was one of those guys who had like a +8 or a 8+ ERA, and he was just getting bombed left and right. But this year he's not. He's actually eating innings, and he's going into the 6th inning. He's going in the 7th inning. He's giving up like 3, maybe 4 runs, but still that's good enough to get a quality start. He's picking up a bunch of quality starts, barely. So he's doing all right. And Soroka's similar. Soroka is a guy who I'd say, what was it, 7 years ago? He was a stud, right? Maybe 6 years ago. But he's fallen off, got injured, been out, came back. I have these pitchers almost dead even in my rankings. But where I see a big difference here, Washington has the batting advantage, and I think Texas has the bullpen advantage. I have Texas's bullpen ranked 6 right now, where I have Washington's ranked 24. So I think that's the big difference here. And if you ask me if Corbin can come out with a win, I don't know if he's going to get a win, because to win a game, you have to go 5 innings. Your team has to be winning after 5 innings, and your bullpen has to hold the lead. Those 3 factors have to be met. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I certainly think that Texas has an edge here today. I don't know if I'm going to play it, though. What do you think?
So you said 3 or 4 runs. I gotta come back to that. Patrick Corbin has not allowed more than 3 runs in a start yet this season. Not a single one. 3
Impressive.
runs or less. 3 earned runs or less in every single start this season. And he's gone 5 innings or more in all but 2 starts, which means so he's allowed 3 earned runs or less every single start. He's gone 5 innings or more in all but 2 starts. And I will go back to what I've talked about this week. The way that this Nationals team is now built, they're going to be way worse against left-handed pitching, because they're essentially what you're going to get is that the bench guys are probably going to play more against lefties, right? Because the last few weeks, things have kind of been clicking for the Nats. They've pretty much taken all of the right-handed hitters out of the lineup when they faced a right-handed pitcher. So now against the lefties, you're going to have a couple guys that bat switch, right? So you're going to have like Josh Bell can go hit from the right side of the plate. This is probably when guys like Dylan Cruz will get some playing time and stuff like that. But the roster construction is such that they should be worse against left-handed pitching, which makes me, that's a check mark in the Corbin column right there. On the other side, like, yeah, you mentioned Mike Soroka. He was a guy that, go back to 2019, 2020, those Braves teams that were on the cusp of winning a World Series. He was big-time prospect, big-time, stud for them. Gets hurt. I've liked what I've seen from him so far in his return this year, like in the Nationals organization. I think he's healthy. I think he can go out and give you 4 or 5 good innings, but I don't know that he's someone I'm like just dying to back. And then the other thing, he hasn't really gone deep So you might get into those Nats relievers in the middle innings. So Rangers is very tempting here for me. Haven't bet it yet, but this is I kind of agree with you. Rangers have a better bullpen, and I'm still waiting for the Rangers to turn the corner. This is another team, Tokyo Brandon. They're kind of like the Red Sox in the respect that these next couple weeks are really important for them. They're 29 and 34. They were supposed to be a contender this year. They've played all these innings without Corey Seager. They've had guys just in generational slumps like a Jock Peterson, right? Like Marcus Semien, guys that you really expect more out of. My gut says the Rangers turn it around a little bit in the coming weeks. So I don't really want to bet against them. It'd be Rangers or pass.
I kind of agree. I don't think I'll play it, but let me just make a point about my numbers. They're very fluid and they change day by day. A week ago, I had the Rangers ranked 24 or 26 out of 30, I believe. They couldn't hit their way out of a wet paper bag, but now they've brought that up to 19, which is not great, but it shows you that they are on the correct trajectory, at least. So I think I agree with you. I think they're not as bad as they've been. And they're going to go up. But I like Washington's lineup a lot. So I've been making money betting Washington's team total over whenever it's 3.5. There's no way in hell you're going to get a 3.5 today against Patrick Corbin, though. But keep that in mind for future games. Washington, the books like to slight this team. And this team can hit with Wood just cracking it, Abrams stealing bases and getting on base as a leadoff guy. These guys are scoring. So take advantage of Washington team totals if you ever see a 3.5. That's my advice.
Yeah, and in this case, I mean, I think the same exact point came up when they faced Matt Boyd a couple days ago. I said this probably isn't the day to do it, and Matt Boyd took a perfect game into like the 6th inning. I think the Nats they won that game, but they only scored 2 runs. So at 4.5 here, I would look Nats team total under just because I don't know that they blow up Corbin. Although I got to be honest, TV, I'm far less like confident in Corbin holding them down than I was like a Matt Boyd, who's very nasty lefty. Corbin not quite as nasty. He's a veteran. He kind of knows how to pitch, but he's not going to wipe out dudes like at this point. So
agree.
Who knows?
Agree. But the stat you gave is amazing. I should do my research a little closer before I say flippant stuff like he's giving up 4 runs.
TB, I wouldn't have gotten that off the top of my head in a million years. I would have assumed that he got blown up once.
And he's going deep into games too. If you go 5 innings and give up 3 or less runs, that's a quality start. And so he's racking up quality starts, which is very impressive. Very impressive.
Yeah. I mean, by definition, I believe they define a quality start as 6 innings, 3 runs or less. But at this point, the way Major League Baseball is now, though, Tokyo Brandon, if you're giving your team 5 good innings and you've only given up 3 or less runs, like you're giving your team a chance to win games. I'm good with saying like that's a quality outing right there.
In my eyes, that's a quality start. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Agree. I never put much value on the QS stat. That's why I didn't really know off the top of my head what the definition of a quality start is, because I've never really thought it was an important statistic. But
it's not.
The fact that that Patrick Corbin is going deep into games and giving up less than 3 runs, he's always giving his team a chance to win, and that's really all that matters.
This one is starting to creep up a tiny bit. Rangers were minus 115 about an hour ago. Looks like they're up to minus 120, minus 122. Minus 123 some places. I agree with that move. We may circle back on this one. Rangers is on. I've got a short list right here.
Yeah.
With some stuff on it.
I'll be honest. There's not a lot that I like today, to be honest, off the top of my head. There's nothing that like jumped out and said, you have to bet this. So, let's do the Tigers game. So he'll shut the hell up.
Hey, listen, we got to we have to get to the we've got guys from Detroit in the chat. I know it's Sean. I didn't even have to look at the comments. I just know it's Sean Michael asking about the Tigers. Didn't even need to look at the comments. Tigers, Scooble. You have to be stupid to bet against the Tigers. Go Scooble. He's God. Okay, let's do it finally. Hey, all I gotta say is since the Tigers won that big blowout on Monday, they have yet to cover the plus 1.5, and they've now lost twice to the White Sox in that span, right? Or did they win? They have 2 losses. I think they've
But
lost outright twice. Let me just double check this because I didn't watch a ton of the Tigers game yesterday. Yeah, they lost yesterday. So
yeah, but they're 41-23. So I'm not gonna say they're that they're in a quagmire or anything like that.
TB, this was my whole point. This was the whole point I was trying to make on Monday, and it was wrong on Monday, but it's been right the rest of the week. The Tigers.
But you're a hater, Adam. You're a hater.
The Tigers have gotten themselves to a point where, like you said, they're 41-23, one of the best records in baseball. They've played incredible ball to this point. They've gotten themselves to a point where they're $2 favorites a lot of days. The whole White Sox series, the rest of the time, they're a $2 favorite, and you could have had White Sox plus 1.5 at basically a even money plus 105, minus 110, and it's covered 3 straight days. Yep. Here we are again. They're back at home. They're not going to be $2 favorites all series, but they are close to it here with Tariq Skubal on the mound against Ben Brown, who's been pretty good. Once again, feels like they're a little overvalued as a $1.90 favorite. What do you think?
Okay. I have Skubal out of 210 pitchers ranked number 1 in all of Major League Baseball, period. He doesn't walk anybody. And he is elite. He is an amazing, amazing pitcher. He's striking out 12.45 per 9, and he's not walking a soul. So he is elite. I would love to go with Skubal. I've been making money betting the other team against Skubal, first 5 under 1.5 if it's available. But I'm not going to do that with the Cubs because the Cubs lineup is just too good. I have them ranked 8 right now. Surprisingly, Ben Brown is ranked kind of high, and I really don't particularly like him. The eye test, he doesn't pass it, and he's been wildly inconsistent from time to time. So I'm not really sure. I'd like to get your thoughts on Ben Brown in a minute because I don't really have a grasp on him, but I know. So I've said this in shows before. We're in the business of predicting the future, and when you want to predict the future, you have to go on what you know. And I know Skubal is amazing. I know the Cubs hit well. I know the Cubs bullpen is a lot better than the Tigers bullpen. And I know Tariq Skubal is a lot better than Ben Brown. So to me, it's kind of a wash. I still have the Cubs ranked slightly higher than the Tigers, despite Skubal making the start. But there's no way I'm betting against Tariq Skubal. And just for you guys, let me tell you my numbers on Tariq Skubal for outs and strikeouts. Let me just throw it out because I haven't actually looked at the book. I was a little under the weather earlier today, so I didn't get everything done. But I have Tariq Skubal getting 19.5 outs, so easily going into the 7th inning, and then I have him striking out 7.55. So those are my projections for him. Use them as you like. So what's your opinion on Brown?
So Ben Brown can hold his own. I kind of look at his, underlying metrics. The fastball's decent. He gets some swing and miss. His strikeout rate is solid, at the MLB level. That's something I like to look at when you've got a guy that hasn't been in the majors that long. So Ben Brown's someone that I think can be competitive. Like he doesn't come up. I don't avoid the Cubs just because he's on the mound, right? Like he's someone that I think can compete at the big league level. Something I found extremely interesting from the Nats broadcast last night, and it ended up coming true as that game went on. Early in the game, you could see that Jake Irvin's had a reasonably good season this year. Now he's not a Tariq Skubal by any stretch of the imagination, but
I like Irvin. I like him.
He's had a decent season.
And he goes into the 6th inning every single start too.
And the Nats announcers pointed out very early. I forget who was in the booth for the Nats. It was whoever their color guy was, probably former big leaguer, was just like, they're not going to swing at anything down. He's like, you watch. He goes, they're going to swing. They're going to wait for Irvin to throw something up. And he's like, it's going to work because this team is so disciplined at the plate right now that they can do that. Basically, they're going to basically take anything down and they're going to swing at anything up in the zone. Sure enough, that's, first inning, like one batter later, Pete Crow Armstrong waits for a pitch up, hits it 430 to dead center, 2-0 Cubs. And that's essentially what they did to Irvin. I mean, Irvin had a kind of a not terrible, but wasn't that good in last night's outing. And it all goes back to just how disciplined the Cubs are at the plate. Their approach is insane right now as a team. I got to be honest, every time I make a bet, win or loss, I try to go back and you know, I have a little notebook and I try to go back and say, would I make this bet again? Did I make a good bet that lost? Or did I make do I wish I could have this one back? I went back to last night and said, you know what? Like, that was one I wish I could have back. The reason being the Cubs got shut out the night before. And the Cubs, off of a shutout loss this year, have won the next game by like 7 runs every time. So that's something to take forward. I think it's happened only like 3 or 4 times at this point. The Cubs follow up a shutout loss with a blowout win. Now, that doesn't apply here, but I thought that was interesting and worth pointing out. What I will say about this is, like, if you're gonna beat Skubal, this is the kind of lineup that could beat him, because the approach is so good 1 through 9, right, that this is the type of team that could get to him. I guess that's all I have to say on that. I don't know if I'll be on it, but that's kind of my thought.
The thing about the Cubs is, like, you know, Tucker and Crow, these guys are Crow, Armstrong, whatever his name is. These guys are stepping up. It's not just the big names. So very dangerous. If Skubal's going to lose a game, it's going to be a game like this. But I'm not saying he's going to lose, but if he is going to lose a game, it's going to be one like this.
Yeah, and Sean makes a good point here. Like, Skubal 17-1 the last 2 years coming off a Tigers loss. That actually kind of makes some sense, because you got to think about, I like that approach, and here's why that makes sense, right? Like, typically if the Tigers came off a loss, they didn't use their best bullpen arms. So you got to look at it like, okay, if I'm going to get Skubal for 6 or 7, and then I know I'm going to get like Vest or like the lockdown arms at the end of the game, think about how tough it's going to be to beat the Tigers in that case, right? Because typically to beat the Tigers when Skubal's on the mound, you got to get him in the later innings, or you have to have a starting pitcher that can match Skubal blow for blow and shut them down. So that makes a lot of sense. Like, I think that's a really good kind of point to point out. They came off a loss. Will Vest hasn't pitched in 2 days. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, this might not be the setup to fade Skubal and the Tigers. That being said, like, I do see some value, Cubs plus 1.5, minus 130, for the things I said previously. This Cubs lineup might be the team that can get to Skubal.
In any case, it could be tight, in which case a 1.5. A 1.5 either way is probably a decent bet, because this could be a tight game.
Yeah, I could see a pretty good game here as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Or first 5, if you can get a first 5 plus run and half run, would be also good. So,
yeah, Jason Pelfrey wants to know: are we building a parlay yet? We absolutely are. We will every day on this show. We have to get one of these sooner or later. But again, I gotta defend us a little bit. We came out of the gate so hot with these that we kind of, you know, it was always going to happen, right? Like, but we are overdue. We have given back at this point, Tokyo Brandon. So yes, we need to hit a parlay, and we will have a parlay.
How did we didn't win yesterday? Yeah, we didn't win yesterday.
No, that was you got home the Royals plus 1.5 in the first leg of the doubleheader, and then I had Nationals plus 1.5, and they got blown out. We did kind of nail that doubleheader, though. I felt like we kind of nailed the doubleheader.
Yeah. So you're wearing the poo hat today, not me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Good. So 1-1 on those.
I wore it yesterday.
1-1 on those last 2 days.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Not just me. I'm happy to hear it's not just me.
I want to circle off. I want to circle back just real quick. Mark Hinson, what do you guys think about first 5 under 3.5 in Tigers Cubs? That's kind of your area, and I know you mentioned it with the team total. What do you think about the first 5 under 3.5?
Let me take a look. Ben Brown is the X factor here. I don't know. Well, let's see. The Tigers have cooled off a lot. I have them ranked 17 in batting. The scary thing is the Cubs, but they're going against, you know, a buzzsaw and Tariq Skubal. 3.5 though is a pretty low. You can get 3.5. You can get 4 runs pretty quickly. That's less than a run an inning. I generally like to bet under 4.5s when I can get them. So I might not do that, because both of these lineups are capable of crushing, right? We've seen it already this season. So I probably would not do an under 3.5. 3.5s are precarious a little bit. I like 4.5s better. And I like 4.5s with teams like the Rangers, who last week were just pathetic. But now it's the Mariners who are kind of pathetic. So I like to do it with teams that are just flaccid at the plate with their bats. There's the word flaccid again.
I think that's the first flaccid drop that we've had this week in reference to a team's offense in their lineup.
Leave it to me to use flaccid and enema. I couldn't believe there were guys in the chat that said I haven't used the word enema for like 2 decades or something. You know, Batman Returns, man. This town needs an enema. Come on, you guys. I'm in Japan.
Yeah, and
you guys speak English more than me. You should know these words.
Of course, Enema of the State, an all-time album. Blink-182. Yes. Great album right there. So, yeah, listen, we got to...
Is that the album cover with the girl with the glove like this? Yeah, okay.
It sure is. I wore that out in middle school. Love it. I think like 7th, 8th grade
all
that came out for me. And
small things. Yeah, good album.
You know, it took till Friday. I thought we were going to get more singing from you this week with Bryan Leonard not here. It took
it just Friday. Takes a little bit of this. I had a rough week.
All right. Listen,
not in capping, but personally, I didn't get a lot of sleep this week. So I'm a little flighty right now. Who knows what can happen?
So shout out Major League Baseball. I don't know if they meant to do this or not, but we have a Friday day game, which we should have every Friday. Actually, if I was in charge of the league, we would play day games on Friday, nationally televised, 1 p.m., 4 p.m. Eastern, and then all the other games would start at night. Okay, so they at least got it right for this week. We have a 1 p.m. day game in the Sunshine State. A little bit of a rivalry. We've got Marlins, Rays. I'm going to go to you first. I do have an opinion here. But this is Marlins team, Tokyo Brandon, that just got swept by the Rockies. Can they regroup?
Yes, they did.
Can they regroup here is the question.
So Littell is interesting. Kind of like he's pitching well now, but he had a rough patch earlier, so he kind of lost my trust. The way I back pitchers is that I either trust him or I don't. He lost my trust really early this season, but my numbers have him pretty average. This is weird though, because I've never liked Cabrera, but my numbers do like him better than Littell, which is weird. I don't know why. I'd like to hear what you have to say about this in a minute, because I've never liked Cabrera, but I got him ranked higher than Littell. The Marlins bullpen is performing really well, but their lineup is not. Usually when you have a team like that, you like to bet unders because they can't hit, but they can hold the other team down. And then the Rays are crushing it, getting a little bit off their pace that they were like 3 or 4 days ago, but they're still a top 10 hitting team right now, and their bullpen is top 10 too. So we got 2 bullpens that I have, one ranked 4 and one ranked 10. We got 2 kind of mediocre pitchers, 1 poor lineup, which is the Marlins, or at least performing poor. Guys, remember, when I say the lineup is poor, it doesn't mean they're always poor. These are fluid. But right now they're poor, and the Rays are hitting pretty well. So I think an under would be the way to go here, but I haven't looked at the numbers, what the under is. I'm sure the book has it right around 8, I would imagine. If you can get a 9 for this game, that'd be great. I think this looks like an under to me. It smells like an under.
All right, so let's talk about Edward Cabrera first. And I'm pretty close to a play in this one. I'll of course let you know where I'm looking. I have not locked something in yet here, but I'm pretty close to a Marlins plus 1.5. And I'll explain why. Cabrera is, he's very inconsistent, inconsistent pitcher. It has stuff that I think plays at the big league level, but the problem is just doesn't have the command. And this has been going on for a couple of years. Hasn't figured out the command of his pitches yet. So, and as you know, TB, as a former scout, if a guy doesn't have great command, it either means you're going to walk a couple guys, or you're going to get yourself in accounts where you then have to throw the ball over the middle of the plate and you're going to get hit hard. This guy's got a 97-mile-an-hour fastball, 97, 98. He can get it up to 97, 98. He gets pretty good swing and miss. But the problem for him is he'll fall behind in counts, and then he comes out over the middle of the plate. And in the majors, you can't do that. Sometimes you can do it, but at some point you're going to get exposed. My question, I guess the question I'm asking myself as I try to get to the window with this is, do the Rays truly have the guys to expose that, right? Because that's kind of one thing we've talked about with this Rays team. They've got some nice intangibles, but the lineup is, pretty average. It's not great. Like I wouldn't say that they're a bottom 10 offensive team, in my opinion. So this is not maybe the worst matchup for Cabrera, because I do think some of his stuff might overpower the Rays, right? Like, now, can the Rays go up and have good at-bats and maybe chip him away to death a little bit? Like, that's certainly something the Rays can do. But I think Cabrera's stuff might play here. And then you've got a guy like Littell, last time out. This is something, I'll throw this back to you just as a general question. Zach Littell last time out throws a complete game. Okay, now he gives up 10 hits, but he goes all 9 innings against the Astros in a 16-3 win. That's 117 pitches it took him to do that.
Yeah.
Would you maybe fade that the next time out? That's a lot of pitches. These guys don't throw 117 that often anymore.
Not often, but we're still early in the season. The fatigue is not really setting in yet. So, and let me take a look at Littell. Is he an Iron Man? So I like to put guys in categories, like he's an Iron Man, he's weak. You get guys like Soroka. He doesn't really go deep, but guys like Lorenzen, he's kind of an Iron Man. He goes pretty deep, generally speaking. Yes, he went 99 innings on 117 pitches. To believe it or not, though, 117 pitches for 9 innings is not that inefficient. It's not bad. 2 starts before that, he threw 103 pitches for 5 innings. Now that's inefficient. That's inefficient.
So that's I guess that's what I'm getting at, though. I mean, I'm going to go to a comment from the Sports Investor.
Wait, let me make this comment real quick.
Go ahead.
He's getting pulled out of games at 73 pitches, 81 pitches, 72 pitches. So they're pulling him early in a lot of games. So very inconsistent, very hard to judge.
So I just wanted to point to one of our viewers, a great comment right here. Littell said he was hurting the next day. He does have an extra day of rest here, but you're talking about back-to-back 100-pitch outings for a guy that wasn't really just regularly throwing 100 pitches previously. And the other thing I think is a really good point that we're going to have to start to figure out how to judge this a little bit. We're going to be playing outdoor baseball in Florida this year, right? Like, we're starting to get to the summer days of Florida. No nice air-conditioned Tropicana field anymore. We're outside in Tampa. We haven't had outdoor baseball in Florida for like a decade at this point. So I haven't really thought about that till just now. But that's
I think all of these factors are going to culminate in Littell getting pulled from this game before 80 pitches or maybe low 80s. I doubt he will finish 17 and a half outs. I don't know what his outs prop is. Like I said, I was kind of under the weather today. I wasn't feeling good. Lack of sleep, not really under the weather. But so I didn't really do all my prop research yet. But if Zach Littell is 17 and a half outs, I would bet an under on that.
Let me see if
they're going to pull him early. They're going to pull him early. He's pitched over 100 pitches 2 of his last 3 starts. So fatigue will set in soon. It will set in soon. Let me see.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, so DraftKings has an 18.5 for outs, but it's very juiced up to like minus 170. I would imagine
he's not going to go into the 7th inning. He's not going to go in the 7th inning.
So would you say, so you got to think that if 18 and a half is juiced up to minus 170, your 17 and a half is probably closer to like minus 110, right?
Probably, but I would believe me, the juice is worth it, because the difference between finishing the 6th inning and throwing a pitch in the 7th inning is humongous. That's a huge difference. If a guy is in the 80s, a manager generally is not going to put him in the 7th inning. Generally, some of them do. Don't get me wrong. Like Chris Sale, guys like that, their managers rely on them to save the bullpen. but Littell is not that guy. And he's thrown over 100 pitches in 2 of his last 3 starts. He is not going to pitch in the 7th inning. I mean, I would say 90% he's not pitching into the 7th inning here, even if he's got 79 pitches. In my opinion, Brandon, I could be wrong. I've been wrong in my life. Okay, don't crucify me. But
I wanted to shout you out because I want to shout you out quick.
Half under would be a great bet. I think even 170.
I got to shout you out quick because in passing yesterday, you casually threw a Noah Cameron out that hit in that game, and I think you've been on this show. You've been pretty solid on these pitcher out plays this year. So. Yeah.
I made that Cameron, I made that a 4% and it took his over 16.5 and I cashed it. So yesterday, my walks props went 0 for 2 and my outs recorded props went 2-0. So that's just the kind of day it was. My outs were banging, but my walks were crapping. So, and can I just throw this out real quick? I have a lot of people in the comments are asking about my chronic walkers. There's only one chronic walker today. And he plays for the Guardians. That would be Logan Allen. But I looked at his walks prop. He's playing against the Astros, and the Astros are extremely disciplined, but they don't walk. I don't think he's going to get to 2.5 walks here, or maybe even 1.5. So I'm not going to play the walks today. Also, I went 0-2 yesterday, so I'm cold. So I'm not going to play the walks. Anyways, sorry to hijack this show. I'm trying to give out as much information. We're already at 41 minutes, so yeah. It
is your show, TB. You can do whatever you want, and yeah, we're trying to deep dive some of these games. I'll give a play out here. This is going to be my parlay leg. I'm going to take Marlins plus 1.5, minus 125. I may add this for a client play. One other thing I'll point out: the Rays have now won 3 straight games, 1-run games the last 2 days in Texas. So you're telling me Littell's probably not going deep. They've used up some bullpen. I think this is a prime spot to play against the Rays. And, of course, if you're the Marlins, you got to be a little pissed off that you just got slapped around on your home diamond by none other than the Colorado Rockies. I think the day off, I think you see a pissed off Marlins team that shows up ready to play this afternoon. I like the Marlins.
You know what? If Zach Littell's outs recorded is 18.5, I'm going to make the under 18.5. Well, we can't parlay the same game now. Probably
no.
Not.
And a lot of people can't parlay those, but I strongly advise if TB said it when Tokyo Brandon comes on the show and tells you he loves an outs pitcher play, you should just be trying to bet it straight anyway. So
I will after the show. I have to log on to DraftKings. I use DraftKings for my outs prop numbers. So at WagerTalk, we like to accommodate the customers, and they've come up like 60 or 70% of our customers either use FanDuel or DraftKings is what they've come up with. So,
Gene says this WagerTalk show is gold, should be on air 6 days a week. We bumped it up from 3 to 5. Now the people want 6 days a week. Who knows? Maybe we can get a weekend show one of these days. One of the 2 weekend days. But we, as always, we appreciate the kind words.
Looking at Gene's avatar, I can tell you are my kind of guy.
TV approved right there. And we appreciate that. Oh, cool. Look at this, TB. The Rays game was moved up to a day game because of the Metallica concert tonight. How do you feel about that?
Oh, yeah. Nice. And someone's saying 18.5 under is minus 106.
I could have read that wrong. I thought I saw it on DraftKings as
these props really, it varies greatly from book to book. It varies greatly. You could find a minus 170 at one book and a minus 106 for the same thing at another book. Really, honestly, these props are they pull them out of their butts. So I mean, you can find different numbers if you search. So I'm after the show. I am probably going to bet that because look, the guy has thrown over 100 pitches in 2 straight starts. And in Major League Baseball, throwing over 100 pitches is pretty rare. If you look, like only Wheeler does it regularly. Maybe I'm missing someone. Maybe someone. Skubal is another guy who goes quite deep in 100 pitches. But it's kind of rare. And I don't think a manager is going to let him do it 3 out of 4 starts. So I might play that. Miami's bats are cold, but I still might play that. Yeah.
Let's go to Matt Bragg in the chat. Matt says Royals team total over 4.5. My quick thought here, Tokyo Brandon, is they might need to hit that team total over to win this game. As I said, we nailed this doubleheader yesterday. I said if the Royals lose a close game, I would look at them in game 2. They came back and won game 2. You used Royals plus 1.5 as the first leg of the parlay. That hit. You gave out Noah Cameron outs over. That hit. Royals used an awful lot of bullpen yesterday, so I kind of feel like if they win today, they're going to hit this Royals team total over. Are you in agreement there with Matt?
Okay, I'm going to say something that might shock the world. I have Davis Martin ranked higher than Seth Lugo in my numbers. Now, eye test might be a separate thing, but look, Davis Martin is pitching well. He's 2-6, but his ERA is only 3.67. But my numbers, I use a lot of expected xERA and things like that. And his expected, he's been unlucky. And well, his biggest batch of bad luck is playing for the White Sox, but he's been unlucky in games. He shouldn't be 2-6 is what my numbers are telling me. And he's a better pitcher than Seth Lugo is what my numbers are telling me. Now, do I believe that? Not really, because Seth Lugo is a grizzled veteran and he knows how to go deep into games. He might not always be flashy or good, but he's kind of like Patrick Corbin, but a little bit better. He's solid. He'll get you a quality start and he'll keep his team in the game. But he's not flashy, like fun to watch, like DeGrom or something like that. So I've got the Royals ranked 9 in hitting. I got the White Sox ranked 17. Bullpen, I got the Royals 11. I got the White Sox 16. And then I have on the curve of 30, I have Davis Martin 13 and I have Lugo 19. So kind of deadlocked here. So when I look at a team total, yes, the Royals are hitting well. But I kind of like Davis Martin too much to take that team total over. You said over, right? Yeah, 4.5 is too high. I think Davis Martin's too good. And I don't think the White Sox bullpen is garbage either. If you go to my Twitter X, Tokyo_Brandon, you'll see I just put out my ratings for bullpens and lineups, current rankings 1 through 30 for all of it. So go take a look. But Davis Martin's not that bad, I don't think.
I didn't have much in this game, but I will say that I think the way Matt is looking here would be the only way I could find a way to play it. I've got the Royals projected around 5 runs. So obviously if the over is 4.5 and you think they're going to get to 5. Yeah. So I do agree with you. Like I've probably had Davis Martin, I go back to a start early in the year where he got absolutely pummeled by the Tigers and 7 runs in 5 innings. I think that point I kind of like really dropped him in my ratings. And
I did that with Littell. Like you lose trust in a pitcher, right? Yeah, exactly.
I think for me too, TV, like this guy never really jumped off the page at AAA for me. So I never really had him rated highly as a AAA guy. Comes in, gets blown up by the Tigers early in the season. And I just kind of was like, yeah, I don't know that this is a guy that I really want to trust. Now, what you're saying is true. Like since that Tigers start, he's been solid, all things considered, maybe a little bit better than the market has him priced. I don't know if I'll go as far as to say he's a better pitcher than Lugo. I don't believe that one bit, but what I will say is Lugo's probably a guy that doesn't hit his numbers from last year, right? Like this is a guy, 3 ERA, 1.09 whip. I don't know. My gut tells me that Seth Lugo is probably going to trend toward like some regression at some point from where he's at in his career. He hasn't really been a guy that I've been like trying to back very often. So yeah. I'll roll with Matt here. I think if you're going to bet this game, listen, the Royals just called up Caglione. I know he hasn't hit the ball yet, but they wouldn't have done that.
He did. He got a double yesterday.
Yesterday? Okay. So yeah. Well, he hasn't started hitting the ball to the ballpark like he was at AAA.
1 for 4 with a double.
I think the Royals could score some runs here. Remember, the White Sox just played a very high intensity series, four game set in Detroit, won a couple games, were able to hold off of a close win last night. So you might not get their best bullpen effort here. I'm with Matt. I think that's a good bet. Royals team total over 4.5. I don't mind that one bit.
Okay. I think Davis is not that bad. So I'll just leave it.
No,
at that.
he's and he hasn't been. I think he's kind of flown under the radar a little bit.
Yeah.
He's kept his teams in games, and I think that's for the White Sox. Listen, where the White Sox are priced in the market, you have a pitcher that's keeping you in the game. That's worthwhile to sort of look at. So,
Okay.
Yeah, I can't.
Sure.
Let's go to Javi Cash. Orioles A's. The A's finally break through with a win, avoid the sweep against the Twins, break up another long losing streak, while the Orioles are coming around. The Orioles find a way to win again. They are red hot all of a sudden. Yep. How do you see this one? It looks like, is it Kramer versus Sears? Is that what, am I seeing that correctly?
Kramer going against Sears. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why, but my numbers won't give me a read on Sears. Is he like not pitched enough innings or something? I'm not sure. Sears is a guy. 20. Yeah, Sears is a guy unusual because, like, was it last year or the year before? He was like on fire. He was pitching really well, and he was like the only good thing for this team. But this year, he's not pitching that well, and he's supposed to be their ace, supposedly. I think he was their opening day starter. I might be wrong, but look, the A's, the big thing that stands out to me when I run my numbers on this is the A's are hitting number 6 in MLB, but they have the number 30 bullpen. So anytime I see a team that has the worst bullpen in Major League Baseball, the first thing I look at is to take that pitcher to not get a win and parlay it with something. Because usually you can get a pitcher not to get a win around minus 300, and you can parlay that with something minus 200 and get about minus 118 odds. But I don't do parlays that often. The other thing would be over, because you got a team that hits and they hemorrhage runs. So I think either the Orioles team total over or the game over. I'm pretty sure the books are making this over like 9 probably. Let me take a look real quick. Sorry, I didn't do a lot of my homework because I just had a lack of sleep the whole week. I was just dead, and I came home and went to sleep. Let's see. We got 10.5 here. So hard to play a 10.5 because you have to have a 6-5 game to cash it, right? You know, I look at it as innings. So you need more than 1 run per inning to win that bet, and that's tough sometimes. So I might look at Orioles over 4.5 for this one, perhaps, but I haven't played it. What do you think?
I think this is a tremendous spot to back the A's. I think and what's going to happen? You're going to see the Orioles are already taking money. A's plus 1.5 is starting to come into range, minus 128, minus 130. But this is a great spot for the A's. I'll explain why.
Yep.
They finally saw one go through the hoop yesterday, TB, right? Like, you're in a shooting slump. You're a basketball player. You're shooting. You can't buy a shot. And then you hit one. And then maybe you hit the next one and you start to break out. They finally saw one go through yesterday, and they did it in a fashion that's going to give them some confidence. So they went out. Not only did they win a game, they won 14-3. They didn't use any bullpen. They got, guys started to remember the big reason the A's have been on this horrible losing run. They just haven't hit. They've had all these young guys in a slump at the same time. And when you get young players that haven't had a bunch of big league experience, when they start to slump, they really start to question whether they belong there or not. Whereas if you got veterans in a slump, they've been around the block for a long time. They find a way to work it out. They go back, make the mechanical adjustment. It's a lot harder for these young guys who have had success at every level to then get up here, slump, and then they're trying to figure it out night in and night out against legitimate big leaguers. That can be very tough, and there's been a lot of that on the A's so far this year. Yesterday, they get a win. They do it without burning the good bullpen guys, and now they get a chance to come out 24 hours later at home against a beatable pitcher in Dean Kramer. He's not, Dean Kramer's nothing special. He's someone that they can knock around and give up some. He's probably going to give up some hits, and I think they do it again. The Orioles, they profile better against right-handed pitching. JP Sears might give them some trouble. They haven't been as good against lefties this year. And I'll go back to their Seattle. You want to talk about a bullpen that's not that deep, starting to rack up high leverage innings. That would be the Orioles, right? 4-3 last night, 3-2 the night before, 2 nights, go back to the White Sox series, all close games. I think this is where the Orioles win streak ends. I believe it's at 6 games right now. I think I'll even go one step further, Tokyo Brandon. I think they drop 2 of 3 in this series to the A's. If you like series betting, I think you could take plus money with the A's in this series. I think back-to-back sweeps for the Orioles. Now they're on the road still, new city, a ballpark that gives up a lot of like cheap home runs. Like, ball gets out of there pretty quick. A's starting to get it going yesterday, 14 runs. I think the A's are going to hit this weekend, and I like them here. That might end up a client play as well. That's another one I like quite a bit.
The A's certainly have a good lineup. Okay. And I forgot the name of that young guy. I've been drinking Fireball. Not Rooker, but the younger guy who's I don't know if he's a rookie or not. What's his name?
Jacob Wilson, Nick Kurtz, Tyler Soderstrom. They're all young guys.
Soderstrom is the one. Soderstrom's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah. They got guys who are bashing it. Yeah. I mean, they're not quite the Bash Brothers yet, but they're getting there. The thing is, their bullpen is just so bad. So bad. How do you justify that, Adam?
Well, that's the thing, though. The A's bullpen isn't that bad if you're dealing with the Mason Millers, the Tyler Fergusons, like the guys that are probably
going to be winning.
Right. If they're in a tie, if they're tied, or if they're winning, or maybe if they're down 1, you're 100% right. If they're trailing 3-4 runs and you get some of those back end guys, you're going to go from being down 3 runs to being down 10 runs, right? Like that's a good point. But if they're in a close game, the A's first, second, third, guy in that bullpen are very, very good. So it's look at
people
that.
People are asking me. Yeah, they're asking me how I buy Fireball in Japan, but yeah, you can see the label is in Japanese, right?
I love it.
I get it on Amazon.
How do we buy anything in the U.S.? Most of this stuff's imported from first of all, actually, Fireball, I believe we import Fireball from Canada. I think it's a Canadian whiskey.
I thought it was Mexican, but I could be wrong.
I'm pretty sure Fireball is a Canadian whiskey. Someone in the chat let us know. I'm going to go to Steve Duke in the chat. He likes the Diamondbacks. And I kind of agree. What a game yesterday. I believe it was you and I that pointed to potentially some runs in that game yesterday, Tokyo Brandon, and it ended up 11-10 with a 7-run 9th inning for the Arizona Diamondbacks to pull off the comeback of the season so far in Major League Baseball. 11-10 final. And guess what happened after the game? The Braves called up Craig Kimbrell, who will likely be their closer going forward. You heard it first. You heard it first here on this show. We talked about that a month ago.
Don't they want to win?
Hey, listen, the relievers they had out there yesterday, complete grease fire. I think it was Aaron Plummer that walked a couple guys, gave up home runs. The bullpen's been a disaster. At least Kimbrell's been getting out to AAA. It's hard to do worse than what Atlanta has done at the back end of in high leverage spots the last couple, like the last 5-6 weeks. So, I mean, you're really like what you're replacing him with has been like, why would you not give him a shot? He's down in AAA getting out. Yeah. Why not?
So are we going to talk about
we're talking about the Diamondbacks. So it's Diamondbacks Reds.
Okay.
D-backs off a huge comeback win. Now they head to Cincy. How you seeing this one?
So Eduardo Rodriguez is horrible. That's the first thing that jumps off the page. Diamondbacks bullpen has been horrible. So in a case where you have a horrible SP and a horrible bullpen, the first thing I look at is the team total. But then Cincinnati, I have them ranked 21 out of 30, so they're not really batting very well. So that kind of scratches the team to say, I'm just giving you guys an insight how I cap games. So that kind of it deletes the Cincinnati team total off my slate for the day. Baseball, we have a 3,000 games to bet. You don't have to force anything. So if you get one little red flag to pop up, just delete it and move on, right? That's the best way to win in this business. Diamondbacks, they're hitting number 5 out of all of MLB. I like Lodolo, but I have him only ranked 13, so I'm not sure why my numbers don't like him as much as I do. But Cincinnati's bullpen is ranked 21, pretty bad. I would either go a game total over or the Diamondbacks team total over, depending on if Lodolo has a history against these guys. So I'm doing the research right in front of you guys right now. Lodolo against the Diamondbacks. Great radio here while I'm looking stuff up on the internet. So not really a sample size that I would bank on. It's only 11 at bats. They hit 273 against them. Maybe an over. Diamondbacks team total over, perhaps, because they get 9 innings of at bats would be how I go. But Cabreras or Rodriguez, I put Cabrera and Rodriguez kind of in the same boat because I hate both of them. He's so bad. So I'd like to leverage how bad he is somehow in this game. So I might look to do that in a creative way.
Yeah, I'm not an Eduardo Rodriguez guy. I don't think I think terrible might be a little bit harsh, but I never agreed.
He's bad.
I never agreed with this move for Arizona, what they paid to get him. I was very anti that when it happened. Hasn't pitched since May 14th, has been injured. Prior to the injury, was just getting absolutely pummeled. So yeah, there's some concerns there for me. I also, I do. That's probably the only thing holding me off the Diamondbacks here, because I'll go back to last year. This team destroyed left-handed pitching last year, and it's a lot of the same guys. I think you're going to see them continue to, they haven't hit lefties out of the gate this year quite as good as they did last year. I think that's probably just small sample size. I think over the course of the season, this lineup sets up to be very good against left-handed pitching. Of course, they're up against a lefty here. One thing I'll point to, yesterday's comeback, which was again the comeback of the year in baseball, in my opinion. 4th straight win in a row for Arizona, but they didn't use any bullpen. Like, that's kind of rare, right? You don't have an 11-10 win very often where you use none of your bullpen arms.
Very true. If you're giving up 10 runs, usually guys are coming in and out like a escalator or like a turnstile.
So it was Tommy Henry in long relief yesterday after Fott. For 4, they used Kendall Graveman for an inning. Shelby Miller threw 10 pitches. Now, I did point out on the show yesterday, the day before, for God knows what reason, Torey Lovello let Justin Martinez throw 37 pitches, which was insane, if you ask me. A guy that's been hurt twice already this year. So I would assume, like, theoretically, after a day off, he should be available. But like 37 pitches for a guy that's been hurt on 2 occasions this year is a little concerning. Like, if he does get in the game here, is he ready to go fully? Because again, we've seen Justin Martinez now on the IL twice, and one of those times it was for a dead arm, right? So like, he might need more than a day after throwing 37 pitches. And the bullpen is still a concern for me with the Diamondbacks, but it would be Arizona or pass.
They were using McGuff the other day. That's how desperate they are, man. This is a bad bullpen.
Yeah, out. Once you get past, like, I mean, Justin Martinez at full health is an absolute stud, but like, you got to remember, he's been injured on multiple occasions. AJ Puck's been hurt all year. Yeah, it's that is a concern. So that's maybe you get your over. I don't know. I could see maybe some runs in this game both ways.
Yeah, I got to give my leg out of the parlay, but Brian's not here, so we can go as late as we want. Brian's always the grumpy one who says, "All right, it's time." So, but
I think he just has a hard out at 10 because he's got other stuff to do. We'll hang with you a little longer.
And keep in mind that 10 your time is like 6 a.m. his time, so he hasn't even done his capping yet, and he wants to get his plays out, right? So he has to go, but. This is Friday night for me. I'm sleeping in tomorrow, and I'm gonna drink myself to sleep tonight. So I'm here as long as you guys want. So, my leg of the parlay, and I don't think we should spend time covering this game because it's just a flaming turd. But I think the Mets -1.5 is going to be my leg of the parlay at -195. I'm cheating. I'm going to take horrible odds. But
that's okay.
You could do a -2 at -160, but I think -1.5 I think is good.
I think for the parlay -1.5, and then because we're gonna combine it with my play, and it's gonna come out to over plus money. I think we should at least
Senzatella. We've discussed this on the show before. He does not belong in the major leagues, and Senga is a solid guy. I'm gonna look at Senga's walks prop later because Senga walks a lot of guys. For as good a pitcher as he is, he has control issues because you know why? Because he's a flamethrower and he strikes a lot of guys out, but he walks a lot of guys too. But he doesn't give up a lot of contact. So, but he does walk a lot of guys. I'm gonna look at his walks prop later. I might put that out before the games. But my leg of the prop parlay will be Mets -1.5, -195.
Listen, I can't disagree with that. Antonio Senzatella, I have him rated the worst starting pitcher that starts regularly, that's thrown enough innings to qualify as a regular starter.
Yep,
Worst in the league by a wide margin. So that's I have no issues with that. I truly believe
I have Bowden Francis ranked lower than him, which is kind of sad.
But you know what? That's where you have to come in and say, like, okay, that's very recency bias, because Bowden Francis is not even in the same stratosphere as Senzatella. And
totally
that's not
agree.
saying I'm not a huge Bowden Francis guy. Bowden Francis
am actually
10 times better than Senzatella, right? So
yeah,
just to give you an idea right there.
Yes, Senzatella is not. Senzatella probably would get rocked at AAA or AA. That's how bad he is. But guys, my plays are going to be out late today. I have one play out in Major League Baseball. I put it out. It's a 3%er. It's available. But I'm going to do all my prop work because that takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of brain work. And my brain wasn't working today. I'm going to put those out before the game starts. So, check around. Normally I'll give them out to you guys for being faithful viewers, which we appreciate because, some people at WagerTalk still think that baseball is not a real sport.
I want to point out quick, Colin Gregory, Ellie Dela Cruz out today for the Reds. He's got to go home. His sister passed away and he's heading back to where he's from. So he's going to be out for a couple of days. That is another reason to like the Diamondbacks. Rakesh, though, I will point out, going with AZ with a starting pitcher of a 1.70 whip, that's what you have to ask yourself if you're betting that game, because Arizona checks every single box in that handicap for me, except I know I'm going to have to live with Eduardo Rodriguez, who hasn't been good, who's coming off of injury. So that is, I guess that's the trade-off, right? Like, I really think you're getting an Arizona team that checks all the boxes. No Ellie Dela Cruz for the Reds, but Eduardo Rodriguez, has not been great and he's been hurt. So, will that
Rakesh is putting some good comments out there too. I love our chat, except for that guy that I lambasted 2 days ago. But our chat, you guys are giving us some good information. You're actually helping us as cappers, giving us some really good information that we didn't search ourselves. Yeah. We have a good chat.
Yeah, and listen, it's all to just we're just trying to touch on stuff that might lead you to a winner, right? Like Billy Roberts says,
because we know a lot of you guys are doing your own capping. We know you guys are doing a lot of your own capping, so we're just trying to help you out there as well, not necessarily sell our plays, so to speak. But if you buy our plays, it's nice too. But that's not really our goal here.
If over the course of the hour I can give a couple of just tidbits out that lead you to a win, or to making like an informed bet, then we've done our job, and that's why we're here. So that's what we're here to do. All right, so we are.
Yeah.
Go ahead, TB.
Before we go, I would like to get your thoughts, Adam, on how you think Bryce Miller's going to fare today against the Angels. Because I did a rudimentary cap for all the games, and this one, Bryce Miller's kind of an X factor today because he doesn't have a lot of work under his belt, and just wanted to get your thoughts on that. Maybe help me with my capping today.
Yeah, I think the people deserve a one more game, and we'll go a little bit longer today. So let's finish up there. Let's do Mariners.
Okay,
Angels.
We'll do the whole game. Okay, cool.
We'll do the whole game. Let's do Mariners Angels. We'll go longer today. Get one more. One more in here. But Bryce Miller's been tough for me to figure out because I expected him to be better than this. Like by this point in his career, when Bryce Miller first came up, I thought he was going to be like a lights out type guy. Like I go back to 2023. I mean, this guy had a 1.14 whip. Last year, his whip was 0.98. So you're talking about his third year in the big leagues. And I really thought Bryce Miller was going to be just an absolute stud. And he's 9 starts into his 2025 season. He's got a 5.36 ERA and a 1.53 whip. Nowhere near what I expected he would be. So that's like, right. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if it's a mechanical thing that he needs to get to fix. But that's been the tough part for me with Miller, because I'm always inclined to want to bet him. Every time I see him pop up recently, it feels like he's undervalued. But then I look at the numbers and I say, what's going on with this guy? Like, why can't he seem to, why can't he seem to get it going? Right. Last time out, I think I had let me see this. I think, yeah, I mean, I actually won my bet with him last time out. I bet on him, won 5-4 with the Mariners, but he only lasted 4 innings. The time before that against the Blue Jays, crushed 7 innings on 8 hits over 5. It hasn't looked great much at all for him this year. However, he did pitch against the Angels back in April, 5 shutout innings. So that's, I guess, a little bit encouraging. On the other side, though, Kyle Hendricks is not, at this point, he's going to go out there. He's kind of like a Corbin, right? Like, he's like Patrick Corbin 2.0. He's like a Corbin from last year where he might get blown up, but if he can kind of stay in the game, he might give you 5 or 6 okay innings. I'm not really that scared to play against him, though. So this was kind of a one that I couldn't get a great read on. I feel like Miller's should be better. I kind of like the Mariners, but I don't think I'm getting the price. So that's kind of where I'm at on this one.
Yeah, okay. I hear you. Now I put my I just gave out the Schwellenbach. A lot of people are asking me my projections for certain pitchers and stuff. So check that out. Schwellenbach, I have him at 6.22K today. So wow, this is a weird one because I really don't like Kyle Hendricks, but Bryce Miller should be better than Kyle Hendricks, but he's not. That's basically what it boils down to. And I have the Angels better at everything. The Mariners are, if you go to my Twitter, Tokyo _ Brandon, my Twitter X, I gave out my bullpens and hitting rankings, and Seattle is the only team that ranks 22 or less in both categories right now. So this is current form. This doesn't mean that they're going to be like that all season, because Seattle was tearing the cover off the ball a month ago. So I have Seattle ranked really low, and then my instinct said Bryce Miller is not a good pitcher right now. He maybe he has talent, but right now he's not a good pitcher. I like the Angels here a lot, actually, but it's hard to back Kyle Hendricks, because he's so bad. But he's worse than Corbin, because at least Corbin, he's going to be semi-solid. With Hendricks, he could give up a 9-burger in the first inning. You just don't know. So I like the Angels, though. I have the Angels ranked higher than Seattle in every measurable category, which I was surprised. So, yeah, I'm going to take Bryce Miller not to win, and I'm going to parlay it with something, because it's only minus 250 for him not to win. And I don't think he's going to get a win. I don't think he's going to go 5 innings, first of all, let alone be winning when he leaves, let alone let the bullpen carry that lead. So that's how I'm going to approach this.
I kind of disagree with some of those points. I guess we can, I mean, yep. It's a worthwhile conversation. Last couple of days, Mariners have lost. I do think the Mariners bullpen's probably a lot better than they've shown the last few days on this little swoon against teams what did Munoz came into that game with the Twins, having not given up an earned run, blows a game late. They've given some runs up late the last couple of series. That's not really Mariner-esque when it comes to the bullpen. So I do think they bounce back at some point. I want to shout out Bryan Leonard, our co-host, real quick, because he was all over this. He said, you know what? People are super high on this Mariners rotation. He wasn't a full believer. And so far this year, George Kirby hasn't looked as good as he's looked in past years. Bryce Miller hasn't looked as good as he's looked in past years.
Who's been good, but not yesterday.
That's what I'm saying. You know, he's and yeah, I mean, some of these guys have just had such good numbers that maybe there was some regression coming.
Yeah.
But I'll also point to another thing that Bryan said that was super tuned in and smart, and that's the Mariners are a team that you probably want to back on the road. They're a team that their offense is predicated on hitting the long ball, right? A lot of their offense, a lot of the Mariners' offense comes from the home run. They play in T-Mobile Park, which is one of the toughest parks in the league to hit the ball out of. Now they come to LA. It's an easier ballpark to go deep in, right? And we know that, like, you know, Kyle Hendricks isn't blowing anyone away at this point. So if his command isn't pinpoint, he's going to give up some pitches that can be hit out of the ballpark. And you know, and it's look at the Mariners record right now, Tokyo Brandon, 32-29, but they're 16-17 at home. That means 16-12 on the road. So it's coming to fruition, exactly what Bryan said at the beginning of the season. He deserves credit for that. He's not here, but we're going to give him a shout out. And that's another reason I could probably only bet the Mariners in this spot.
Okay, cool. That's good. So we help each other cap, you know, it's a good thing.
Steve Duke says Angels has been shrinking. Money's been coming in on Anaheim. And I want to point this out, like, two sides to every story. That's why we kind of like to, you know, hit it from both angles. I don't mind when we disagree. It's worth pointing out that there's been some sharp money on the Angels the last couple weeks. It feels like it's quite often that the Angels get hit with sharp money. And I'm not surprised in the least that they're taking some money here. So again.
Yeah, I like this comment. I'm going to hijack the comments here. Cal Raleigh is the home run leader in Major League Baseball. He has more home runs than Ohtani right now. He's got 23. So him to hit a home run is not a bad, but I think home run props are sucker bets. So I think elite home run hitters, you should get at least plus 400. And if it's not, don't bet it, in my opinion. So.
All right. We went an extra 15 minutes for you guys today, since we aren't doing a weekend show at this point. TB, it's been fun. It's been a fun week. I got to be honest. I can't wait till Brian Leonard's back. It is so much easier to do this show with three people. I hear myself talk less, which I'm sure the chat is thrilled about when Brian is here. So remember, Brian Leonard back on Monday. We're back on Monday night at 9 a.m. And yes, the parlay, two-teamer. Let's get it done. We have Marlins plus 1.5, Mets minus 1.5. It's a plus 175 parlay. We need this one. Nice day game, night game. Marlins during the day, Mets winning a blowout at night, and we get a little bit of momentum in the parlay heading into next week when we're back to three teamers, back to a three-man panel. Yeah, everyone have a great weekend.
Comment on the replay. Comment on the
replay. Appreciate you guys showing up every day for this show. Hopefully it's helping you, and can't wait to see you guys Monday, 9 a.m. Eastern.